Hello, I have made this channel so that I can put videos so that my viewers can learn at least the basics of Python. So in this first lecture, I'm starting with Scratch. It's not a programming language, but it's a platform from which you can learn basic computational thinking. So let us begin. So in our first slide, you can see the basics of any computer program. You give it any input, then you can pass it to a sort of black box for now, which processes the input, and then you get any output. So now let's talk about representation. In natural life, in real life, our digits are from 0 to 9, 10 digits. But in computers, we only have 2 digits, 0 and 1. In real life, when you see the number 123 written, you can instinctively understand that it means 123. And that is because you multiply the ones place by 1, the tens place by 10, and the hundreds place by 100. So as you can see here, when you break down the number 123, you get 100 into 1 plus 10 into 0 plus 10 into 2 plus 1 into 3, which gives you 123. But in computers, we have binary representation. So that means 0 and 1. So this is how you would represent the number 7 in binary. 1, 1, 1. In this, you multiply the rightmost digit by 1, the digit next to it by 2, and the digit next to it by 4. This is 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, and 2 to the power 2, and so on. So now, what is a bit? A bit is a binary digit. You can think of it sort of like a bulb either being on or off. A collection of 8 bits, which you can think of as collection of 8 light bulbs, is known as a byte. Now, how do you represent letters? Until now, we have only talked about representing numbers, but how would you represent letters? So now let's see. Let's take for example the capital letter A. It is represented by the number 65. This was decided. This is a convention. It was decided as part of the ASCII convention. This is how you would represent the number 65 in binary. But now you also know that we don't only have Latin alphabet. As you can see here in this image, there are 8 letters which are not part of the standard Latin alphabet. How would you represent these? This was represented in the Unicode convention. It is different from the ASCII convention. So how would you represent numbers? So like you can see here, the color yellow, as you would probably know, any color is made up of 3 primary colors: red, green, and blue, RGB for short. So yellow you would get by mixing 2 of these colors. So this is how you would get the color yellow. You mix 72 parts of red, 73 parts of green, and 33 parts of blue. But how would you get an entire image? An image is a collection of pixels, and each pixel is a color. So you can see here that let's say this picture has 1 million pixels. So this picture has 1 million combinations of red, green, and blue. So now moving on, we come back to the earlier image of a computer program. But now the part inside the black box is called algorithm. An algorithm is basically a set of instructions on how to process your input. So now let's say you have a dictionary. Now let's say you have a phone book of 1024 pages, and you want to find someone's number, which is, let's say, whose name starts from the letter D. So the naive approach would be to turn page by page until you find his or her number, but that obviously will take a lot of time. So what we can do instead is, when we take the 1024 page telephone book, we first see the middle page, page number 512. We see if that person's number is on that page or not. If it is not on that page, we can discard half of the telephone book, because the telephone book is sorted according to the alphabet. So now let's say on page number 512, you find someone's number whose name starts from the letter Y, for example. So obviously you know that D comes before Y, so you can discard the second half of the book. And now you open to the half or the first half of the telephone book. And then let's say you find people whose name starts from the letter M. So again you discard the second half, and you proceed so on until you are able to find that person's number in the book. So as you can see, this only took 10 steps, but flipping a 1024 page book sequentially will take 1024 steps, and obviously 10 steps are less than 1024 steps. So see, here is a graph which shows the time to solve the problem along with the size of the problem. So this red curve is turning a page sequentially. It takes as much time as the size of the problem. It is directly proportional. The yellow curve is, let's say you turn to every alternate page instead of every next page. So that would take half the time. But this is still very long. But if you turn the page, if you turn directly to the middle page and then discarded half of the book, you would take log of the time, so which is the shortest time. Now let's come to the concept of pseudocode. Pseudocode is used when you want to tell someone what your code does without actually showing him or her the code. So as you can see, here is again the example of the phone book. So let's say we want to find Mike Smith's number in the phone book. So we pick up the phone book, we open to the middle page, and we look at the page, and if Smith's number is on that page, we call him. Else, if Smith's number is in the first half, we discard the second half and open to the middle page or the first half, and vice versa. So in this pseudocode, we have described our entire operation without using code, and this might be useful to anyone who does not know the programming language that you might be using. And here, highlighted in yellow, are the actions, which will be represented by functions later on. Now the yellow parts are conditions, if, else if, and else. And now the yellow parts highlighted are what we check for. We can call these Boolean conditions. Boolean means either true or false. And lastly, the yellow parts highlighted represent recursion, which means repeating a function which you have already used before. Now, as you can see, in our earlier example, we discussed these 4 things. So these 4 are what you will need to start any programming language. But later on, you will obviously run into these 3 things also: variables, threads, and events. But you don't need to worry about those for now. So now coming to Scratch. Scratch is an interactive web platform on which you can design simple programs simply by dragging and dropping blocks. So here we have designed a simple Hello World program. This first block is when the green flag is clicked, say Hello World. So when you click this green flag, here our character over here says Hello World. Now what is this platform exactly? How would you use it? Now here on the left side are blocks which represent functions. This is our pane on which we can drag and drop our functions. Here is our character, and we can see him in motion. We can see him doing the actions we told him to do when we click this green flag. And here we can add different characters and different backgrounds to our program. Now say Hello World. So if you break that block down into these three, you can say that hello world is the input which we want the character to say, and the output is a character saying hello world. Now we also have this block in Scratch. Ask what's your name and wait. What's your name is the input. The algorithm is to ask this question and then wait for an answer, and the output is the answer which the user gets. Here again we have a new block, join block, which joins the hello with our answer. Hello and answer are our inputs, join is the algorithm, and the output is the answer joined to hello. So that's all for today. I hope you were able to understand something. If you have any questions, you can drop them in our comments below, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.